Richard, hello, and you're very welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you? Delighted to be on.
So, first of all, Richard, tell us a little bit about you and about your company because you've become somewhat of an Instagram sensation recently. But tell us about your core business.
Well, we're a solicitors firm and we do two areas of law only. So don't come asking us to buy a property because we don't do that. We only do employment law and personal injury work. So that's our specialist areas. And I suppose we've been operating since 2009 when I set up the firm. And I suppose we would have been on social media, particularly LinkedIn, for a number of years. And sort of Instagram, we started in March of 2021.
So, what other type of marketing channels were you using? You mentioned LinkedIn, but potentially traditional media. So, was there a deliberate intention to go into Instagram in March 2021? It's only a year ago.
Um, well, I suppose I would be fairly well known in the area of employment law. So we had uh, we had a monthly newsletter that we put out every month, and it reviews case law. So it's a fairly technical one, and I would have done an awful lot on radio and TV. Uh, and I suppose come March 2021, I hadn't been the person in the office doing Instagram. Another person had been, but they left. So I decided, well, I better find out about Instagram. And I knew nothing about Instagram. So I sat down in February, uh, and it was a wet February uh, afternoon, weekend, and I kind of worked out Instagram. And I said, right, so we'll always have a go at it, and we do it the Richard Grogan way. We mightn't do it the way everybody else does. And it seemed that it took off.
Well, that's one way of putting it, Richard, that it seemed to take off. And I love the fact that it was one wet February afternoon that you were able to train yourself on Instagram. Are there particular rules around marketing and advertising in the legal professional? Because in my experience, some people are pretty nervous about what you're doing.
Um, there are. So, for example, if I put up anything, well, there are if I put it this way, if you're touting for business. So if you turn around and say, contact me if you've got an employment law problem, or contact me if you've had an accident, uh, then you have to put up various things like little asterisks and say, in contentious cases, a solicitor may not charge fees or expenses as a proportion or percentage of any award or settlement, which kind of gets rid of most of your Instagram. So how do we do it? Well, what we decided to do, or we say we decided, it was more me. Um, we don't ask anybody to contact us, so we just put up information. So if you just put up information, that's not advertising. So that's kind of as simple as we do it. We don't actually say to anybody, come and contact us. We just put up information. Now, there's a reason why we did this. We've always given out information. Our newsletter always gave out new information, and we just saw that there was, what we would say, we were getting during the pandemic an awful lot of questions that came up, that that we sat down and we said, this is basic stuff. For God's sake, I mean, everybody knows this. And we went, well, maybe they don't. So we started doing the Instagram, and then we worked out that we were wrong and they were right. Yeah, they didn't know. And so we got the questions coming in with, really, you know, or so that's what we did. We're only putting up information. So when you're putting up information, you're not marketing from a regulatory point of view. Um,
Absolutely. And honestly, when I'm speaking to mainly government and public sector professionals who would be conservative in their approach to social media, the world wants information that is education based. And that's exactly what you're sharing. Now, I've been following you and watching you, and I've also looked at the comments. The number of questions that you're getting is absolutely phenomenal. And it seems to me that you're providing something that is akin to a great public service, but you genuinely read those questions, don't you? And then create reels as answers for them.
yeah, I mean, I think what you do is we kind of work on the basis that there's no such thing as a stupid question, only a stupid answer. So I can sit down and I can take out my law book and I can say, well, this is what I want to talk about because this is stuff that I think is very interesting. and some of it is. Uh, but the more interesting stuff is if you see a trend coming from people asking similar questions, then you turn around and say, well, all right, this is what interests other people. So what I'm trying to do is answer the questions that are coming up. So, for example, what's come up recently? Paternity leave, parental leave. There are load of questions coming in on that. Now, there's loads of guides and all the rest around it, but we're trying to put it out in very simple language. Now, when it came up to Christmas, we had the thing I thought was happening for the Christmas Day and Stephen's Day because they were Saturday and Sunday, and what are my rights and all the rest. So we did a lot of that, and there was an awful lot on that. And now we're getting to the 17th and 18th of March, and the same questions are coming up. Now it's from different people, and there may be new people who are following me or contacting us. So over the weekend, we did public holidays. So uh, you're saying, well, this isn't rocket science stuff. Well, it mightn't be, uh, but if you don't know what your rights are, then maybe it is rocket science. And the interesting thing is that it's not just employees who are following this; it's employers as well. Are going, what's that fella Grogan talking about today? And we better check out to see. Oh bloody hell! Yeah, all right. Maybe we need to change this around a bit. So what we're trying to do is give out information, and it's either 15 seconds or 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So I'm not writing a thesis. It's there's a limit to what you could do even in 60 seconds. So it's pretty, snappy and to the point. So how are we planning it? I suppose as I'm driving in the morning, now I'm being very non-PC and non-green, saying I'm driving in a diesel car. Well, I'm going to drive in a diesel car. I don't care. Um, as I'm driving in and I'm listening to the radio, I can at the same time be saying to myself, what am I going to do today? And let's see what kind of came in, yesterday, because I would have had a look at it and I'd say, all right, hold on, this might be what I might do today. So it's to give people really, quick information. And it's coming from all sectors. So you have people working in shops. And I was actually out with my wife yesterday and we walked into a shop and she was buying a dress. And she was wondering why the sales assistant kept looking at me and wasn't looking at her. And eventually the sales assistant said, are you the fellow on TikTok? Now I do TikTok as well. And I said, and I had a mask on, and I went, yes. And they said, could I have a picture with you? And I said, okay. I think the wife was looking for a new, bit of a reduction, at that stage. She wasn't getting one. But then I suddenly found that I had a picture being taken with about 5 others. Um, so what was interesting there is these are shop workers. They were working weekends. They were very young. One of them was just finishing school, which is very interesting. That an old fella like me has a following from people who are just leaving school. Um, so it's interesting that people are looking for information. At the other end, you have people in the HSE or people working in government departments who are forever sending me questions. So what it says to me is there's an awful lot of people who really just don't understand employment law. But also it says to me that there's an awful lot of employers who don't understand employment law. And probably the ones who are resulting in everybody ending up going down to the WRC. It's not the employer, it's the manager and the supervisor who haven't got a clue, who are landing employers in claims because they don't understand. So one of the things that we would have done, and it's a kind of a newish service that we started last year, is dealing with staff handbooks for employers, where we're saying, yeah, this ain't going live. You're not getting a word copy of this until the managers and the supervisors can answer some basic questions about stuff. And we go, yeah, another fail, back, go read it, come back to us, and we start doing it again. So I think it's helped, and we're there to try and help people. So we're a business, we're a professional firm, we provide it there, but we do believe in giving information back. So we've always done that since the firm opened up. Well, since 2011, we've done a staff handbook. sorry, not Snap Hamburg, newsletter. So that's what we've been doing since then, and it goes out every month. So this is just a progression into a different format, and it's the new format for getting information out.
And Richard, you describe the information that you give out as not rocket science and maybe the ABCs of employment law. But in actual fact, that is exactly what is blowing up on social media. That's simple, accessible, understandable, relates to my life, relates to a problem that I have now. You mentioned that you're on TikTok. Talk to us about the TikTok explosion too, because I've been looking at the video views over there, and they are in their tens of millions. Is it a different platform for you, or do you publish the same content?
It's different. It's quite interesting. The questions you get from, we say, from Instagram are a lot more detailed, if I can put it that way. The questions from TikTok are very snappy. Very often there can be the same type of issues coming up. So if there's a trend coming on Instagram, it'll also be on TikTok or the other way around. At other times, TikTok will be slightly different, and you'll see a trend coming from that. So you have to look at the trends and see what are people interested in. The numbers are there. I mean, Instagram, as a solicitor, I think I'm at 93,000 or something on Instagram, and TikTok is about 131,000. So that's an awful lot of people following this idiot talking about employment law. I mean, I don't sing and I don't dance, and uh, we're if you see what's here, this is the same background as you have most of the time. So we don't have it set up with fancy lighting. You know, um, this is all done on the mobile phone. You know,
it's
that,
it's very authentic, but people love that. People love you because you're believable and you're just you, and you're not trying to sell to them. So you become like a magnet for information, and you are, as we know, the authority voice on it. But how have your peers in the legal profession taken to it, and do you worry about what they think?
couldn't give a damn what they think. Like, sorry, I've been around long enough to say, do I really care what they think? Um, yeah, look, actually, there's there's been an awful lot of positives. So, I mean, when I say don't give a damn, uh, it would never be something if somebody was criticizing me for doing this. My answer is, I'm giving out information. Get off my back. But I don't get that actually. What I get from people in my own profession is, um, "Hi, Richard, how do we do it?" And the answer is, well, I'll sit down and I'll talk to them about how they can do it. And I think it's the new way of getting information out, because the legal profession has always been known, the Law Society has always been known for getting information out. But it has tended to be, you know, 7 pages of, whereas the party of the first part and the party of the second part and the where to alls and the whereases and the omnia presumpta rita esse acta. So they tend to be very, big technical things that, well, we have to cover off all the bases and cover everything. And I'm saying, no, no, I'm not covering all the bases. I'm going to give you the basic. Now, there's going to be a load of things of, yeah, that's not for everybody. But if you can do one that covers 90%, and you might do a few of the ones that cover the 10%, but you're trying to get information out for the normal person. And I suppose I say I'm a yellow jam, not marmalade man, in the sense that I don't like big words, mainly because I can't spell them. So it makes it easier. If so, what I do is I kind of do it on the same way as I talk to anybody who comes to see us. So I'm just talking to myself. And the fact that other people enjoy it, that's great. But I try and do it in, plain English. So I'm not using big Latin terms and whereases and wheretofores and the rest. The question is, what's the maximum number of hours you can work in a week? 48 averaged over 4 months. That's the law and that's a fact. Yeah, that's it. That's 15. That's a 15-second reel. Yeah. I'm not going into all the exemptions and that are there for various situations. You're dealing with what most people are going to be asking most of the time, and that's what you're trying to do.
Well, you go straight in for the punchline. Like a lot of marketers online drag it out and make people wait to the end, whether it's 3 minutes or 30 minutes. But you go straight in for the punchline, and you just said it there. But talk to me about your now famous tagline. It's the law. It's a fact. Like that's your signature sign off. How did that come about? Because it just works perfectly.
Um, I was doing a reel at the start, and I couldn't do it in 30 seconds, and 60 seconds was too long. I had about 5 or 6 seconds left, no matter how I did it. So when I was finishing off the first one, I went, "That's the law, and that's a fact." And that finished up my 60 seconds, and people seemed to like it, so I kept it. So that's how it came about. There was no big sort of sitting down with a marketing guru and saying, "Now we must work out now a tagline." No, wasn't done that way. It just came about. But then I think that's the basis. If you're going to be marketing online, it's to be natural. I see the people who do the great big long intro, and the ones I see are the ones I enjoy playing golf. So I see the fellas selling golf stuff, and after about 5 minutes, I'm finished. You know, whereas my one on it is get it there, get it in, and get it done, and tell them. So what I would say to people is, I say, go back to when you were in school and you were asked to do an essay, and it was you're doing an intro, the main bit, and a conclusion. And what I say is, when you're doing marketing on this, do the conclusion first. You know, do the conclusion. Worry about then. You don't need the intro. Do the conclusion, and then give them the intro. So give them the answer first, and then tell them what the question was. I can't hear you.
Are there any big plans for 2022?
I don't know. That's going to depend on what humor I'm in. Maybe I get stuck in traffic someday coming in, and we'll change it over. As it is, I've got enough to do trying to run a practice and do Instagram and TikTok. So there's. I think it's very much well. Will we do the same as we've always done? No, we never do that, because once you do that, it gets tired. I think what it is it's an issue of answering people's questions. So um, we get a lot of questions that are outside our area of expertise, and we just won't touch it. Not interested, not going there, not doing it. It's not our area. So I think the one thing that we're learning is stay with what you know. That's the big thing on marketing, trying to be all things to all people. So I see some colleagues who are doing stuff on employment law and accident cases and buying and selling property and buying companies and all of that. And you look at their numbers and they're wondering why it isn't going anywhere. And the answer is, I say to them, you're all over the place. You're not seen in an area. So if you're doing something like this, I say to people who say, if you're in a law practice, well then have one person do probate work and one person do the conveyancing, the buying and selling of property, and somebody else does accidents and somebody else does employment. You can't do all the four. It's impossible. You have to be known for an area. And we do employment law and personal injury work, but the personal injury work often relates, the questions I get on it often relates to employment related issues, so they marry together very well. So you have to be careful of what you're marketing. I mean, it'd be very easy for me to be off now doing something on probate or conveyancing. If there was somebody in the office that did that type of work, and I would be saying, if that happened and we expanded into that area, I'd be saying, well, I won't be touching probate or conveyancing. That'll be somebody else. You have to do your niche, your niche area. That's, I think, the thing that social media is. You're known for your niche area. You're known for it. Then that's how you develop it from there.
how much time are you spending per day? Now you're in the car, so you're maximizing your time when you're thinking about the topic for today, looking over the comments that have come in over the past 24 hours. But social media gets a bad rap because people say it's a time suck. Do you get your return on investment in terms of your time, and how much time are you spending per day?
I'm spending about an hour and a half. I mean, to put but that really is a big portion of that time is actually looking at the questions that are coming in. The actual amount of time to put up the stuff. You know, Instagram and TikTok will have maybe about three each a day, 30 minutes in the day. The hour is actually spent looking at the questions and the comments that come in. So I tend to do those at night when I'm sitting in bed, and I go, yeah, I have the piece of paper beside me, might do this tomorrow. You normally have more than you're actually going to do. But so then when you're driving in the morning, you're thinking about, well, there's 10 here, what three will I do? Or where are they coming from? So that really is it. Yeah, it is time. You have to spend time on it. There is absolutely no doubt. The ROI, or the return on investment, that everybody is on about, um, you're never going to on something like that. That's a 2 3 year period of time. This is not something that you open up on Monday, and you're going to get a return on investment. This is something that takes a period of time to build up, and you have to build it up because it's getting your name out there. But it does get your name out there, and yes, there is a return on investment. But remember, we've only been doing it for a year, and as the WRC is backlogged for about 9 months, you know, there's very little ROI at the present time, and personal injury cases take 2 to 3 years to go through. So this is the this is the issue on it. It does take some time, yeah.
Yeah, very much. So it's a long game for sure. But what would you say to people who are watching this episode or listening to this episode who are subject matter experts within government or public sector, but they have a total fear of putting themselves out there because they're an employee within a government agency, right? And they are adding value to the public, and it's in the public interest communications, of course. I mean, we saw that during COVID with our public health leaders coming out and giving us daily updates, and that was really important to change behavior in a pandemic. But what would you say to people working in government and public sector who see the value but are really nervous because it's not their business, it's their job?
Well, what I would say is never give an opinion. If you're in the public service and you're going to do something like this, never give an opinion. You're not there to give opinions. What you do is you set out what the facts are. So let's say that you're in the Department of Social Protection and you're going to deal with home, a fuel allowance. Well, you put up what the rules on fuel allowances are. You don't turn around and say, by the way, this is bloody awful. I mean, for heaven's sake, you wouldn't heat the bathroom with what they're going to give you. That's not your role. If you're going to do something like that, then what I would say to you on social media, and that's anybody in social media. I mean, that's whether you're in a government department or you're working in a shop. Put up information to people on information that's relevant, but just information. So if I put it this way, my Instagram and TikTok don't give opinions. I never give opinions. And I don't really set out what the law should be. I only set out what the law is. So stay away from opinions. If your opinions, then you're in a different category of people altogether. Then you're using social media for, running an agenda. So there are things that I don't agree with in employment law. That, and I can be saying something that I would, if the right case came along, would only be delighted to challenge it. But at the present time, this is what the law is. So I would set out the law as it is now. So I think that's if you're in government department, then the answer is, if you're going to be putting up stuff on social media, you just put up what the facts are. I think equally, if you're something like that, then you check it with somebody up the line and you say to them, look, I'm just going to be putting out information. It's very clear, information, and I'm not giving their opinions. This is what I'm putting out. And there I see people in government departments who do that more often on on LinkedIn than anything else. But they're just giving information. This is the rules for applying for this grant. They're not telling you whether they agree with it or not. They're the rules. So I think that's what I would say to somebody. Don't give your opinion, just give the rules. That's it.
Great advice. So you're creating 3 videos a day. You're leaning into reels, which are the most engaging type of content on Instagram. You're also putting those up on TikTok. Um, is that the strategy that's working best for you now? Like, we don't see many static images or lots of text. It's driven by the video.
Um, yeah, I need another half hour a day to do the static stuff. So the static stuff is in our newsletter, which we do. So that goes out and it's posted on LinkedIn, and so that, and it gets divided up and sent out, and it comes through for people who want to see the in-depth stuff. So the video, I kind of work on the basis that seems to be the way people are operating now. That if you're on the bus or the train or the Lewis, they're flicking and they've got the earphones in, and if it looks interesting, they'll listen to it, and if that's not interesting, they won't listen to it. And it's the easiest way of doing it. It's 15, 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So not going to take you an entire day to get this piece of information about employment law.
Richard, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I want to thank you for your time. And I know how busy you are, but I think you do value in sharing your insights and in how you're using social media to inform the public. And for me, I think it's a great case study that the government and public sector areas can definitely use. But let's finish off with your famous line. It's just too good. I want to hear it again.
That's the law. That's a fact.
Richard Grogan, a pleasure. And if you're not following him, what rock have you been sitting under for the past year? Go and follow Richard Grogan on Instagram and on TikTok. Have a great day, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.